Well, good evening, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Got some uploading I'm doing to one of my memory sticks, so figured I'd take some time to just hop on real quick and say hi. Nothing special. Just a quick little conversation. See how everybody's doing, see what you're up to Friday night. Hoping everybody's being safe. So feel free to say hi, chat with me. Tell me what's going on. Juneteenth at 9/11. What are y'all thinking about? COVID? Spanish flu? Money problems? What are you complaining about? Should you be complaining? So what's going on, guys? What's going on? Friday night. Everybody keeping the peace. How's everybody doing? Evening, everybody. So what's on your minds, folks? Got this wonderful Friday night at Juneteenth. Started the video at 9/11. Black. Excuse me. Black lives matter. White lives matter. Little duckling lives matter. Tomato lives matter. Cow lives matter. How much does it matter, though? How much? We go around all the time swatting flies, killing flies. It's a life. What's the difference between that life and another life? Isn't all life just a part of the whole? So why are we concerned about Black Lives Matter and Juneteenth and 9/11? Does it somehow affect us directly? If so, how? How does it affect us so directly that one guy gets killed? He's had a number of friends his entire life. Not been the greatest social academic. Working for nightclubs and stuff. And all of a sudden he gets choked to death. And now all of a sudden he's got these thousands of friends all around the world. Millions of friends all around the world up in arms because they killed him. How is that relative to you? Is it because he has black skin? Is it because he was a man? Is it because somebody stood there and video recorded it instead of putting the phone down and helping save his life? Which is in fact his ultimate duty. I mean, granted, it's a little bit different when you see somebody pick up a fly swatter and swat a fly. Probably not going to stand up and fend for that fly. But when it comes to our brothers and sisters, if it really does affect you, then why aren't you doing something about it? Why aren't you doing what you can do to affect change? I don't know what kind of effect of change I have on other people's lives in whole, but I know that despite any kind of negative effects I might have had on people in the past, And despite whether that balance or that scale is balanced yet, I don't know. I'm not the balancer. I'm not the judge of that. But I do know that today I'm following a much more I'll say defined, a much more well-observed path. People ask me, Keith, how come you pick such a hard path? I only see the one path when I see it. And just like everybody else, there are times where I'm confused and I don't see it and I'm fogged up, or the world's fogged up around it and I can't see it. And those are the times I have to stop and really pay attention. Shouldn't be driving down the interstate at 70 miles an hour in thick fog. Particularly if you don't know the interstate and all of a sudden you come upon a curve. Particularly since if it's thick enough, it's probably going to be wet out. And if there's oil on the road, you hit that curve and all of a sudden you're done. Pay attention, people. Pay attention in every second. What is it you observe? Do these rallies and peaceful protests and the acts of violence within that prove that they're not actually peaceful, and everybody believing that they have this right to petition the government for redress of grievances, and they don't even realize what's dressing the original, what the dress is. You know, like I said, should you be standing there holding a video camera, recording it all, or should you put the damn thing down and help your brother? See, if you're going to petition any government for redress of grievances, you have to know how you're dressing it to begin with. And if you're going to dress it based upon somebody else's opinion, then that's your problem. Correct. Our man Andrew Ferguson says, don't use the term citizen. Slaves can't arrest anyone, and that's perfect. I want to correlate that to you. When you're in contract, when even if they pull you over alongside the road to give you a traffic citation, the presumption is that you're under some kind of contract. And if you're under some kind of contract, the penalty cannot be arrest, because you fall within the guidelines of a contract, which means that it's in action, which means both parties are to perform. And one of the main things about performance of contract is that while it's enacted, then it's in arbitration. They have if they presume a contract, then there's a presumption of arbitration. It's even if it's written into a contract, there's a presumption of arbitration. And so we have to remember that and keep that in the back of our minds at all times, in all instances, even when like I mentioned earlier, when they first pull you over alongside the road and they give you that citation, what they're doing is they're offering to contract. In that offer of contract, they're placing what's known as a commercial lien by asking you to sign, saying that you promise to appear or pay a certain amount for the court proceedings. And they tell you blatantly, you can pay that up front and not even worry about going to court. That's a commercial lien without an affidavit. A commercial lien can only come from a process where an affidavit is provided and it is either agreed to, commercial lien, or it is acquiesced 3 times so that you can procure a judgment by going to court with an order to execute judgment. And then with the execution of judgment, you can send notice of that judgment in hopes that they'll make their payment. If they refuse to make the payment, what you've done is you've started another administrative process of notice. So now you give them the 21 days to make payment. If they don't, you give them the second notice. Give them 10 more days. If they don't make payment, you give them the third notice. If they don't make payment, now you have your you go to court with your writ of execution, wherein you bring in the sheriff to go over and yank their property. You got a $10,000 commercial lien, and they got a $10,000 car in their driveway. You can use that as compensation for that $10,000. If he gets on the phone and says, "Hey, wait a minute, I have money to pay this. Don't take my car." You can, okay, then pay me. Let's go to the bank and you can write me that cashier's check. This is arbitration all the way through to the finalization of the contract. It's the only way a commercial lien works. They can't place a commercial lien first without an affidavit. Basically what they're trying to say is that the statutes that they're using to say that you offended or violated, they're saying that's the affidavit. And they're going to give a supporting statement saying that their commercial, they're seeking a commercial or economic substance through fines, fees, and penalties is a valid commercial lien, and it's not. So you have to figure out what's dressing the matter first. Is it the affidavit or the commercial lien? And if he's coming to you with a commercial lien before an affidavit, that's not the correct process. So you have to submit your affidavit because there's none submitted yet. That gives you jurisdiction, whether they like to tell you or not. Their acquiescence, once you finish that administrative process and go to court, and you show that you followed the process, the court has no other option except to grant your order of judgment. So then when you show that process again, that you told them that the court ordered it, the order was passed through the court, and the court now has jurisdiction to enforce it. We'd like them to pay it. They're not. Now we need a writ of execution of the judge of the court's enforcement by bringing in the sheriff to go in and take property. It can't be the police. They don't have jurisdiction. They have civil jurisdiction. The police have land jurisdiction, or the sheriff has land jurisdiction. So you have to specifically write a writ of execution for release of for procurement of property in enforcement of judgment. So you really have to know the process before you can go filing a petition for redress of grievance, before you can go out to the streets and protesting, peacefully, rallying. I don't care what you want to call it. If you don't know the principal foundation first, then what you're doing is a nullity and void and vacate from the beginning, just like the cases in courts. If it doesn't have a foundation, then it's void. It has no standing. It will fall. Even if it stands now, it will fall. Like I try to explain to people, I don't care how you stand a piece of paper, it's going to fall. It has no standing. And anything that's on it has no standing. None. So what's up, guys? Yeah, that's nice to hear, Chris. That's an important detail. Getting your passport and state ID or driver's license situation all corrected, and don't get me wrong, people. You can use a driver license. You can use a state ID. Those you can make them actually fully valid contracts by qualifying your signature, by putting your terms and conditions on them. And if they don't accept, that's dishonor of contract. You have the right to take all the valid oaths that they do in order to operate in that capacity as a government employee if they wish you to. You have the right to go upon it and take an oath. You don't have to be elected. You just take an oath. Fulfill a public function. And it's all right there within the terms. Commerce is synonymous with transportation, traffic, and trade. Guess I want to conduct some business or trade with you. Let's contract for personal services. You're a competitor for a contract. They can't deny that. They have to give you equal rights for equal competition. That means you get to qualify the contract equally for equal consideration and equal benefit. That's what that's all about. You just have to learn how to do it. And that's why it's, like I say, it's important to get that the passport situation figured out. How you doing, Brother Dwayne? Long time no see. Hope you're doing all right. James and Lisa asked, what do you think of the Real ID? The Real ID is part of the new monetary electronic system. They're converting everything. They're no longer accepting what they call definitive bonds, which is the. Hope AI doesn't catch that and try to track me on that one. Sorry, guys. The TD, the Treasury and Securities Exchange Commission is no longer. They're switching from, or trying to switch from what they call definitive bonds, which are definite. It's definitely there. It's definitely real. You can define it. Okay, a bond on a book entry bond is a electronic bond, and that's what I was discussing in my Zooms here in the last couple of days and stuff. That's the electronic programming and all the apps and computer programs and all the sites that you visit on the internet and the web. They have in their programming security certificates. And this is a way to validate every keystroke by a timestamp directly related to that program's specific security certificate. And since these programs and everything on the internet are operating in a commercial capacity, that security certificate is exactly what it says. It's a certificate, and when we look at Title 18 of the United States Code, it says obligations and other securities of the United States, and it says certificates, and it doesn't say what form. See, a certificate is something that is somebody that's willing to certify something, and that somebody is a person. In this sense, in the programming, the person now becomes the program itself instead of a living representative. So now we have to have a computer technician come in his professional capacity to explain the computer's person. This is just another degree that makes it harder to track these bonds and stuff. And this is why they say they're no longer going to be using definitive bonds. They can't do that. There's a hierarchy in language, and it's even written into their codes. Look at Title 1, Section 1, and then there's another one in the UCC, and we know them to be uniform throughout all jurisdictions. And it says that in the description, it talks about male and female referring to each other and this and that. And one of them is that the printed form supersedes that of the typed form, or the printed form excuse me, the typed form, and the typed form is superior to that of the printed form. And so we're talking about the different forms and superiority. And so when we think about an electronic form now, it's not even yet printed. It only exists in the format of viewing it on a screen instead of being printed, typed, or written on a physical document. And this is an important aspect to realize, that you have the right to your legal documents. So now, with this technology and the way things work and operate in the electronic world, we now have the ability to say, okay, my laptop is my legal document, my legal instruments. It is what I instrumentalize as a piece of electronic equipment to give me access to help sustain the state's budget, so that I can help prevent as many requirements of leave of court to go answer questions when I have them digitally at hand. Same with your phone. If you don't have a laptop, but you have a phone device, and you have documents and files and everything in your emails that you can access through the phone, you can still use your phone as a legal instrument. This is one of those technicalities that's going to be very hard to deal with, particularly since they don't allow electronic devices in jails. So if they get rid of the definitive forms that bond us to our knowledge that we know now, in other words, the ability to be able to print this information off and keep it with us in person, the files that we can store on our phone is so much greater, so we don't have to lug around boxes and boxes of information that we can point out the 8 million different codes that are subverting our rights. By technicality, and again, this is why it's so important to get away from the way other people are defining things and realizing how everything is really so synonymous, and why the Black Lives Matter. Granted, yeah, Black lives do matter. Little bug lives matter too. Tree lives matter. Bacterial life matters. Life that exists in fecal matter matters. And you just have to be able to see how it's all relative in your own observance. So when we think about our problems and we go to seek counsel, we're wise to seek counsel from those not only experienced in solutions, but experienced in treading water. Go to people that are in our same situation. Go to people that seem to have progressed beyond our situation. Go to people that seem to think that they're high and mighty and sit on a bench and point their finger at you and say, Mr. Little, do you understand English? While you stand there in that courtroom and look at him vehemently and say, yes! And then later on that same night realize how important that question was, and realize how wrong you were. And so you spend the next 4 years studying English, studying Latin, studying Black lives, studying adult lives, studying pink lives, studying dual lives, studying Republican lives, studying Democratic lives, studying communist lives, studying banker lives, studying Tom Sawyer lives, studying life, and realizing that the English language is such a minute part of it. And I didn't even really understand that. So here I am 4 years later, despite what everybody thinks and despite all the information I put out, I'm still treading water, folks. Still treading water just like everybody else. And that's why it's so important to realize I'm no different than you. You're no different than me. Your truth isn't my truth. My truth isn't your truth. But we can find truth in each other as long as we come together. We're going to sit there and stand up and rebut each other with nothing but lies because we don't know what really is the dress of the issue. And the only thing we can do is stand there and argue instead of having some kind of reasonable, logical, Socratic debate. Then what are you really doing? What are you accomplishing? You're doing nothing but making yourself look like a fool. And the people that are out there claiming that they're peacefully protesting while in the background there's all kinds of people breaking windows, lighting things on fire, stealing shit. You think you really look peaceable when you can't even put down the people that are ruining the peace? It's one of your duties, like I've explained before. If you're really going to contest that you are performing in a peaceful protest, then it takes the coming together of all those people in that peaceful protest against any amongst them that would be violent. And say, I'm sorry, you're not part of our group. You either take care of yourself or we'll arrest you. You want to be part of this group, this part of this venue, this current now time jurisdiction of what we're trying to prove is a peaceful protest? Then you all of the people out there that are thousands and millions of people out there that are professing to do this are supposed to come together and prevent the violence that they're professing there isn't in existence in their peaceful protest. It's just idiocy. And why is that? Because there's so many of them that don't know the real dress of the problem that needs to be redressed. And yeah, I'm tired of the COVID. I'm tired of the Black Lives Matter. I'm tired of all the protests. I'm tired of all the rallies. I'm tired of whether Democratic, I'm tired of whether it's Christian, I'm tired of whether it's Jewish, I'm tired of whether anybody wants to discern it as anything other than the truth. And again, there we go. It's purely subjective to what I observe. That's my only truth, and it's not your truth. And again, all the more reason why we need to come together so we can get a greater truth. So we can get a better understanding of the English language. So we can get a better understanding of the little bug lives. So we can get a better understanding of the tree lives. So we can get a better understanding of the little lives. So we can get a better understanding of the adult lives. So we can get a better understanding of the Christian lives. Even because it's not my life. But simply because I know it's life. A part of a whole. And without it, the whole diminishes. Anyway, I'm going to get back to my uploading. I'm still not quite there yet. But I've got a couple other things I got to do yet. But I wanted to come on since I had time to waste. I'm going to post my other forums, the links to my other forums, and it's going to have my PayPal link in there. For anybody that cares to help me out, share some love, hit that PayPal link, help me out, help me help you. One of those simple ways you can come together with me. And remember, hey, there's one I'd like to come together with. Ray Lynn, how you doing, girl? I'm back in Waterloo. We got to get together and figure something out. I was just telling these people how idiotic it is for people to go out there and protest, no matter how peaceful they want to protest, if there's violence going on in the background, they're not taking care of their due diligence of their duty to make sure that it remains peaceful. And so they may not understand the real dress of the problem that they're trying to redress. So get a hold of me and let's get together sometime and get something here locally going. In the meantime, like I said, I'm going to post my links to my other forums and that PayPal link for anybody who's interested. And remember, folks, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. God bless you. Love you. Have a great night. And we'll see you again next time. Be safe.